So here's what I mean by resistance. It's that very irrational argument where your kid says no, and they're being completely irrational about it, and you have really good reasons, and they don't really care about your reasons. It's like an emotional response to a rational argument. It's also, this is where it gets a little bit different with kids in terms of an emotional response. I want you to think of a mammal, any mammal, cat, whale, monkey. Every mammal, when it has a baby, that baby is born totally not ready to be in the world. It's one of the unique features of being a mammal. So as adults, we have to take care of the kids. And how do we do that? How do we know how to do that? How do kids know how to get, how does a baby know how to get food and closeness? It signals. And I'm using the word signal. In humans, of course, they cry and scream. Sometimes they just sit and turn red. In every animal you can think, every mammal you can think of, the same thing happens. They'll cry out. So a baby bear, bah! And mom bear comes running across the field and will kill anything in its path. And you're told very clearly, if you ever see a baby bear, watch out for the mom. They don't want to hurt you, but they're going to get in the way. And the louder the baby bear screams, sort of the faster and more aggressive the mom runs. So the signaling has an effect, two really important effects. One is when a baby infant mammal signals, an adult comes physically closer. That's really important to understand when we talk about resistance. The other thing that happens, and this is something that you can't control, but you can notice, is that when a baby infant signals, screams, cries, yells, barks, your emotions as an adult become hijacked by those emotions, and your emotions map onto that kid's emotions. And when I say map onto it, if I were to signal, or if I were to attach like all sorts of sensors to your brain and to the baby's body and to your body, and we were to watch what happens when an infant screams, those signals that were bouncing, they'll get really dysregulated at first, and then all of a sudden they would start to be in sync. We call that co-regulation. So right now in this room, if we heard a baby signaling, crying, how many of you would be able to just casually ignore it and listen to me? Probably zero. And if you raise your hand, you're a psychopath. That's a joke. But I wouldn't either. Even if it's not my baby, I couldn't even tolerate like a kitten meowing. It would feel pain. I would actually have like a physical sense of pain. And you would too. And we don't really have a say in that. That's what it's like to be a mammal. It doesn't even need to be your baby. And so here's why this matters. When you go physically closer to the child and you hold the child, and eventually they stop screaming. If they don't, you give them food. And if they don't, you give them a toy. And if they don't, and if they don't, and if they don't, you keep trying. When they feel better, you feel better. And when they feel worse, you feel worse. And that's really important to know, because one of the things that kids can do when it comes to resistance is if they want to make you feel bad, kids know how to do that before they have language. They can scream and get your full attention, and they can hijack your emotions so that now you drop everything you're doing and attend to that child. And that's a healthy thing to do. That's what healthy parents do. They drop everything they can and they go to their child. No doubt if one of you got a phone call from your child today that you'd walk right out of the room without a question, right? So one of the really interesting things about adult emotions, especially difficult emotions like fear and anxiety, is that you and we can regulate our own emotions. And although I'm really stressed about being here as late as I got here, if you didn't know that, you wouldn't know that. I could actually be having a really terrible day today and nobody in here would know. And that's not like a trick or a secret. I'm fine, by the way, just letting you know. But I'm able to regulate my emotions, and you are too. Kids can't do that without an adult's help.